The freezing wind cut through the desolate plains of Ilvara 6, a world abandoned by all but the most desperate travelers. Medic Jonas Hale trudged carefully through the snow, his boots crunching over icy ridges. The distress signal had been weak, almost inaudible over the roar of the blizzard, but he had managed to track it. Each step grew heavier as frostbitten gusts numbed his face and fingers. Survival on this frozen wasteland demanded endurance, but he had trained for situations like this. The signal led him to a shallow crevasse, where the ground had cracked open like the jagged teeth of some monstrous predator. There, lying motionless, was a creature unlike any he had seen. Its skin shimmered with iridescent blues and greens, and long, delicate limbs were twisted unnaturally beneath a layer of frost. Its eyes were closed, and shallow breaths escaped raggedly from a gaping mouth. Jonas quickly recognized the signs of hypothermia combined with severe trauma. Whoever had left this being here had not cared if it lived or died. He knelt beside the alien and carefully checked its vitals. Weak pulses registered faintly beneath the cold skin. Jonas wrapped a thermal blanket around the creature, ignoring the sting of ice against his hands. He had treated humans and a few interstellar refugees before, but none so regal, so undeniably commanding, even in a state of near death. Somehow the being exuded authority. Jonas realized with a shiver that this was no ordinary traveler. This was a queen among her people, a leader, and yet now she lay abandoned, her world having turned against her. The wind howled more violently, threatening to bury them under layers of snow. Jonas lifted the alien onto a portable sled, carefully strapping her in. Every motion had to be precise, or she could succumb to the cold at any moment. As he pulled her across the frozen wasteland, he noted the intricate patterns etched into her skin. They seemed almost ceremonial, symbols of a culture he could not yet comprehend. He wondered how long she had been left here. Hours, days, perhaps longer. Survival alone had been unlikely without aid. His mind raced with questions even as he focused on keeping her alive. Where was her fleet? Why had no one come for her? And most importantly, what would happen when she awoke? He felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, heavier than the sled itself. The queen, once vibrant and commanding, was now fragile and dependent. Yet, in her weakened state, Jonas sensed a spark of life that refused to die. It was faint, but it was there. Through the blizzard, Jonas pressed on, determined. Somewhere ahead lay safety, warmth, and the possibility to save a being that might change his understanding of life itself. The small shelter Jonas had spotted through the blizzard offered little comfort, but it was better than the endless cold outside. He dragged the sled inside, brushing layers of snow from the floor. The alien queen remained unconscious, her chest rising and falling slowly but unevenly. Jonas quickly set up a makeshift medical station, using heated pads and nutrient gels from his kit. Every movement had to be careful. One wrong touch could end the life he was trying to save. Hours passed with the storm raging outside. Jonas monitored her vitals constantly, adjusting warmth and fluids, speaking softly in hopes that sound might stir consciousness. Gradually, her breathing became steadier, her color less ashen, and the faintest flicker of light appeared in her eyes. Jonas allowed himself a brief sigh of relief, but did not let his guard down. Hypothermia and shock were deceptive enemies. They could strike back even after progress seemed certain. When she finally opened her eyes, the sight was breathtaking. Her iridescent skin shimmered in the dim light, casting reflections across the walls. Her gaze, though weary, held a regal intensity. Jonas felt a shiver that had nothing to do with cold. He had saved lives before, but never had one looked at him with such awareness and authority. For a moment words failed him. He realized that she understood much more than he expected. The queen made a soft sound, almost musical, and her eyes scanned the room carefully. Jonas stepped back slightly, hands raised in a gesture of peace. She tilted her head, observing him with curiosity, and then spoke in a language he could not comprehend. He listened, noting the musical cadence, the soft yet commanding tone. Somehow he understood the urgency in her voice. Though he did not know the words, he sensed the meaning: survival, trust, and the need to move quickly. Jonas worked swiftly, preparing for the journey ahead. He retrieved additional supplies, knowing the storm might last for days. He also began to study the patterns on her skin, realizing that they might be more than decorative. They could be a map, a record, or even a warning. He needed to learn more, but for now, keeping her alive took priority. As night fell and the blizzard showed no sign of ending, Jonas settled beside her, keeping watch. The Queen closed her eyes again, this time in a state of fragile rest rather than unconsciousness. Jonas allowed himself a moment to wonder what fate had brought them together. A human medic and an alien queen, stranded in a frozen wasteland, now bound by circumstance and trust. Somewhere in the darkness, beyond the storm, danger still waited. Jonas knew that this rescue was only the beginning. The Queen would need more than warmth and medicine. She would need allies, protection, and perhaps a human friend she could rely upon in ways no one else could provide. The storm finally began to ease as dawn broke over the icy plains. Jonas carefully packed their supplies and prepared the sled for the journey to the nearest settlement. The alien queen, now fully awake, sat upright for the first time. Her eyes, bright and alert, studied Jonas with a mixture of gratitude and determination. Despite her weakened state, she radiated strength and presence that made him realize she was a leader in every sense of the word. Jonas guided the sled across treacherous ice ridges and frozen crevasses, constantly aware of every step. The Queen spoke in her melodic language, and though he could not understand the words, he could feel her intent. She was issuing instructions, mapping paths, warning of dangers ahead. Her intuition was remarkable, and Jonas followed her guidance carefully. He realized that she was not only alive because of his skill, but because she had chosen to survive with him. By midday, they reached a plateau where the first signs of life appeared, a small colony of explorers and traders who had braved the harsh wasteland. Jonas called out, signaling their arrival. The Queen rose slowly from the sled, her presence commanding immediate attention. The explorers stepped back in awe, recognizing the alien queen even before any explanation was given. Jonas felt a surge of pride. He had delivered her safely against impossible odds. Once inside the settlement, the Queen received medical attention from trained personnel, and her strength returned steadily. She walked among the settlers with grace and authority. Yet her gaze often returned to Jonas. There was an unspoken bond between them, forged in the freezing isolation of Ilvara 6. Stronger than words could describe, Jonas understood that their encounter was not a coincidence. Fate had brought them together, and now their destinies were intertwined. As she prepared to leave with a small escort to reclaim her realm, the Queen turned to Jonas. Her eyes shone with an intensity that conveyed gratitude, respect, and something more profound, trust. Jonas knew that he had been changed as well. He had saved a life, yes, but he had also witnessed courage, resilience, and the quiet dignity of a ruler who had faced death and refused to yield. The blizzard had taken much, but it had given something greater in return. Human and alien, medic and queen, survivor and leader. Together they had defied the wasteland and emerged victorious. Jonas watched as she disappeared into the horizon, certain that this encounter would shape not only her future but his own forever.